Good morning. It is Monday. My mic is miking. Say hey in the chat if you're here. But yeah. I hope everyone had a good weekend. Let's see. I just came off another call, so I'm like getting myself sorted. But I woke up this morning and I had egged 9 names into testing things out. So we've had some pull requests and stuff. Oh, hell yeah. So 9 names ran into a couple problems. Let me pull them up, and I'm going to paste them into a chat because they're in... Just open this. View word wrap. Okay. Let me pull stuff back up over here. Okie dokie. Yeah, we got some cool stuff today. Because some stuff happened over the weekend. Okay, so let's talk about 9 Names stuff. So 9 Names was mentioning an older project, I forget, but it was something very similar to the Tilt app. It was, I think, getting the ESP Rust board, which is a board that Espressive sells that has the ESP32C3 Mini on it. It's also got the big thing is an IMU. It's got this ICM42670P, which I had never heard of before, but apparently is an I2C. Okay, it's a TDK IMU. So very, very similar to the Tilt app that we have. So I mentioned, hey, Ergot already supports this. Well, sort of. It supported talking over USB serial, because the ESP32C family, not all of them, yes. They have a USB peripheral, but it's not like a regular USB, like a native USB where you can do whatever you want, like the RP2040. It has 2 functions. It has JTAG debugging, and it has a USB serial, basically inside of the chip. It's got like a little purpose-built bit of silicon in there. So it does speak USB serial, but we have a demo for that. We have a demo for that for the ESP32C6. The big difference between the C6 and the C3 is the C3 doesn't have atomics. So similar to the RP2040. So it has the same USB serial core as the C6, but it doesn't have atomics. And 9 Names was running, so 9 Names ran into some problems with that because that wasn't super well documented that you need to do that. Ergot can do it, we just didn't document it super well. And then 9 Names ran into some problems with Tokyo Serial and Windows, because Windows has some problems that I'm aware of, but I'm on Mac here, and I also do some testing on Linux, and I think some other folks like the NixOS gang have are testing on Linux more often, but I don't think we have that many people on Windows, although it should work. But we ran into a problem where Tokyo Serial doesn't work great on Windows. And USB works fine on Windows, so I think people haven't had a problem with that. But I think we'll have to deal with this. But 9 Names already has started opening some pull requests, which is awesome. Let me go to the ones that's merged already. So 9 Names added a PR that tests our stood feature on all operating systems, or at least, yeah, okay. So Windows, Mac, and Linux. Hell yeah. because before I was only testing on Linux, basically. So we got that merged. The tests were failing because Windows wasn't building, and that's because we had a deformat feature turned on. And when we had deformat feature turned on, then Windows wouldn't build. So I made a quick PR that just makes the deformat feature of heapless only turned on when we have the deformat feature turned on, and we don't have that turned on for Windows, which means all of a sudden the shared ICD and the stood projects don't need to worry about that anymore. So that should be good. And then I think Nine Names has opened up a PR with the feels weird to me that I need to enable a feature on BBQ2 to get access to Ergot exports. Yeah. So let's look at this. I think it's like he said, I think it's just a demo of this, but I'm inclined to just merge this and then get that enabled, because it is awkward that we have to enable a feature. I love the linker be nice. I'm sure this is just like from their template or whatever, but it is funny that it's linker be nice. Cool. I think I have ESP32C3s, so or do I have the Rust? Let me move the mic over here. I think I have the Rust demo board too, but maybe not. I might just have a regular ESP32 dev board. Let's not break hardware in my drawers. ESP C6 dev kit, C3 dev kit, C3 dev kit. So I may not actually have this board, like the... I'd have to look. I might have gotten one... Yes. I think I have this board. Let me open this. Well, this isn't super interesting, but I do think I have this board. I have a very... in my pile of dev boards that have been given to me or I have purchased over the years. Yes, I do. Okay, so I have this board. I don't know if this is... Let me pull up OBS so I can see if this is actually visible. Okay. So, yeah, I have this lovely board. Don't focus on my face. Focus on the board. Gotta use my beauty YouTuber skills. But yeah, I have this board, which means I can test this. Although I don't have Windows, so I can't test the problems that Nine Names ran into. But I could at least test that out. That's good. At some point, I should probably get a hardware CI system going. We'll see about that. But cool. If it works, it works. I will open up a follow-up issue. And out, we might be able to automatically set this when necessary, or always. Cool. So now we've got an ESP32C3 demo. Thank you, 9names. Yeah, I'm pumped about that. Let's see. What else do we have? Oh, I don't know if I talked about it on Friday, but also over the weekend. Rito or Trappets. Let me pull up their GitHub. Logger. So, Trapitch or Rito has been working on a cool demo that uses eGUI. So I put out a call in Matrix for anyone who, like, because I don't do a lot of graphing and stuff, or I usually do, like, spit a lot of stuff out to CSV, open it with Google Sheets kind of thing, which works for some things, but sometimes it's nice to have a live demo. And Rito managed to get this working. I'm gonna... Let's see. What's the best way to do this? Data visualization. Hello, please. What's the name of this? Oh, it's demo. Demo stream. Visualization. To demo stream. Okay, so I can pull this. Okay. And I have one of my Tilt app accelerometer boards. So this is one that I've shown, and it's on the demo, but it's USB on the front. It's got an RP2350 on the back, and it's got an IMU on here. And if I plug this in over USB, and I go to CD demos, stud, stream plotting, and if I do a cargo run release, oh man, this USB cable is tied up. But we can see that we all of a sudden get this lovely live graph data. Let me do this because I think that works fairly well. Cool. And Rito has even done the ability to switch between simulated and real. So if you don't have a physical board, because I'm the only person, well, me and like one friend that I've given this board to are the only ones who have this board. Oh my goodness. Let me stop this because I have cable spaghetti. I have twisted this cable up in a knot. Oh, I did it on purpose. Cool. Sometimes I tie things in a loose knot so that they stay coiled and don't become aggressive spaghetti, but I had it tied up with another cable that I was using for debugging. So let's run that again. Let me pull up my face so you can see my face. Okay, so this is doing stuff. And let's get a bigger history. I don't know if we quite need 10,000, but we can see, so I'm going to hold it sort of level. And if we tilt, we can see that the accelerometer shifts. And while I'm tilting, we can see that the gyros are going. And if I drop it and move it up and down, we can see kind of the Z-axis moves. And if I do like this, we can see it rolling and we can see it pitching. And then yaw, we can see yaw. And this is really cool. This is, let's see, apparently we're at 60 FPS. I haven't looked exactly. I think right now, if at least I haven't looked at Rito's most recent changes, but I was just doing stuff like throwing away, because we're still streaming data at like 6.6 kilohertz here. I haven't added endpoints for like, oh, configure the sample rate or whatever. We see that, yeah, exactly. I haven't made that configurable or anything like that, so it's just spamming at max rate, but that's fine. And we're just downsampling, so we're basically throwing away like 95% of all the samples. But you can see that it's, you know, it's going pretty happy. I think my CPU is not doing anything. So is it stream plotting? Yeah, I guess using like 46% of a CPU, but you know, eGUI is probably doing this all rendering in software, and it's processing messages 6,000 times a second. So I guess it's not terrible. I haven't tried optimizing it or anything like that. So yeah, I'm super pumped to have this as an example. It's very, very cool because I think a lot of people want to just graph sensor data and stuff. So this is a neat way to visualize that. And I am not great at eGUI, but the example seems pretty straightforward. So I love that. Okay, let me go through. These are some of the other things that Nine Names reported. We talked about this. Windows has issue with serial. There might be a way to work around this, or one of the things that I can do is I can add a profile that does use this blocking serial port crate instead of the async Tokyo serial, which I should be able to do, like have a worker thread instead of a worker task. Nine Names has mentioned that there's not really like a, hey, you have a piece of hardware, you want to test it, here's what you need to do. Like, you need to run the firmware in one thing, and you need to run the host over here, and you need to run specifically this std program. So I think I need more of a like a first walkthrough. So maybe I'll do that on, I know I've done this on stream a bunch, like I just did it, but it would probably make sense to have a write-up of like, hey, you're trying out Ergot for the first time with a piece of hardware, this is what you need to do. So I will probably try and improve the demo docs for that to have like more tutorial stuff of like baby's first program with Ergot. Yeah, so I really appreciate Nine Names trying that out. We talked about the atomic stuff. We talked about this, the PR to fix this. This is good. So yeah, it's rolling. And we have lovely graph demos. You can see this auto scales. One of the fun things is, okay, so the z-axis is the green one down on the bottom. I'm just going to drum on my desk a little bit. You can see how much it makes the accelerometer go. Or even if I just come over here. So let me move. I'm going to move this like, you know, 5 centimeters above my keyboard. It's not actually physically touching my keyboard, but it's on the same desk. Let me move the cable out of the way so I'm not actually touching the cable. I guess I need to wait for this to calm down. Let me do less samples because then it will calm down faster. So we can see kind of like this is just background noise with gyro data. But if I just over here type hello world, and if I go space, 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 it's just funny how much you can see my keyboard going in the accelerometer. And it's like a non-trivial amount of acceleration because the accelerometer does 2G. So this is, I guess, what it thinks is about 1G. So if I go space, we can see that it dropped like, I don't know, 300 counts. So, or excuse me, 3,000 counts. So 3,000 out of 16,000, like not exactly a quarter of a G, but maybe like a fifth of a G, which is funny for just sitting on my desk with a space bar, like not physically touching it at all. But yeah, I don't know. I'm very happy with that. The other demo that I have, I don't know if I've ever actually shown, is the Tilt app. We got a local packet remotely. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. I don't know what's up with that, but I'm going to look into that. we shouldn't be hitting panic. So if I do this, and then I plug it in, and then it'll take it a second, and we'll see it. Okay, so now let's see how visible this is on camera. Not at all. Cool. So this is like the fake. You can kind of see the LEDs lighting. I have it basically, it's like the silliest control. Oh, that's kind of visible. Okay, let me come back here. You can see, I don't know how visible that is, but you can see like when I tilt it like that, you can see that when it goes down like this, the ones that are closer to me and further from the camera light up, and that when I tilt it like this, the ones closer to the camera light up. And this is basically like my version of a very dumb keep stable algorithm. So it uses the gyro data. So like whenever you rotate this way, it makes these LEDs light up like it was making, or excuse me, when you go this way, it makes these LEDs light up like it was making the motors go, to like counteract the tilt. Or if you do this, let me do this, like if you rotate it, it does the counter rotating, because the way quadcopters work is that the rotors are counter rotating. So if you want to yaw like this, then you spin the different like balanced pairs, because if I spin like this, then it would make it go clockwise, and if I spin this, it would make it go counterclockwise. And then when like the whole thing rotates, like I said, you can kind of see this. I don't have the brightness turned up super well, and it's a day. So this control algorithm is actually totally running on the PC, so there's a bit more latency, but it's a kind of fun example of like not even running the algorithm on the device, so you could just iterate and prototype on this. Let's see. I don't have a ton of other stuff. The other thing is I spent like 2 hours in the main IRC room yesterday, talking about Ergot. So if you're on Matrix and you're in the embedded room, this is the IRC history, because we bridged to IRC, and yeah, you can see the history here. So I talked about it for like 2 hours. So someone just caught me with good questions on is Fire for Moonlight. I basically mentioned it because we were talking about other stuff, and I just spent like 2 hours answering questions. So that might be a fun, yeah, that might be fun. Tommaso, what's up? Tommaso's in chat. Tommaso's working on some logging stuff. I do need to get back to that, because I said I was going to help Tommaso with that, and I have not. Sorry about that, Tommaso. But yeah, what's up? Tommaso's doing a cool thing of adding a log sync to Ergot, so that you can just use the log crate and send your logs over Ergot. So for example, if you're running a microcontroller, you could use the log crate instead of deformat or something like that. And then eventually I want to add a deformat sync as well. So whatever logger you're using, you could send that over USB. So like in a case like this where we don't have a debugger hooked up, you could still get your logs if you have them enabled, and things like that. There's still some folks who mostly work with a bootloader, or if you're using like production devices, you may not have a debugger wired up. But yeah, just hit me with the question, Tommaso. I'm happy to help. But yeah, I'm excited. I merged one PR on Friday that should hopefully help, because I realized there's this super common problem in logging where if you, like for example, if I'm using Ergot to send the logs, but Ergot also produces logs, then we have a problem of when you are sending logs, you will send logs about sending logs, and that can cause, just by itself, like a feedback loop where you just end up like saturating sending infinity logs. And then we had another issue where if the log implementation was sending messages while we were already sending messages, we would run into a deadlock, actually, because we already have the net stack locked. So if we went to like send another message while we're sending a message, then we would try and relock the net stack, and the net stack would deadlock because it would go, oh, nope, I'm already locked. Sorry. So I had one pull request that I merged, I think on Friday, that now it'll just return an error. Like if you already have the net stack locked, then it'll return a wood deadlock error, which means when we're sending logs or whatever, because we send like broadcast, we can just ignore those errors. Like we dropped a log, which isn't great, but Tomas was saying I was thinking about using one static logger for the whole Ergot crate, kind of like how they do in the log crate. Definitely keep explaining. I don't know if I necessarily want that, because on desktop you may not actually want Ergot to be the logger, but I guess if we can have a static logger that's already always there and you just don't enable it, like, because I know in the log crate you have to do like init log or whatever, or init log racy. Basically, like, we have to configure what the sync is. But in the log crate, the logger can only be set once. This allows them to make only one atomic operation in the logger function that returns the logger to use. Yep. So let me pull this up. Yeah, I think the method's called like set logger or set logger racy. Because this should work on embedded. It's just unsafe. So, well, what we'd probably do is we'd probably wrap this in a critical section and then make this a safe method. So we'd be able to do like netstack.logging.set logger or something like that. So I think that should work. But yeah, my big thing is I don't want that to always be the case, because like I said, on desktop, you don't want to necessarily send your logs through Ergot itself. You might want to like print them to standard out. So I'm okay with having like a static that's always there if there's something that we can do there, as long as it doesn't enable the sync always. Tomas says alternatively we could use a read-write lock to allow setting it multiple times. Maybe. We probably shouldn't use a read-write lock. I don't think there's a great one on embedded. I would probably just use the same critical section mutex that we use for the net stack itself. But yeah. Yeah, I definitely want to look at that. I appreciate you doing that. I would love to get something going. So I will definitely, if you want to open up a PR with what you have, you're welcome to. Otherwise, I know you've sent me some code, and I think I've tested it locally. That's how I ran into this. I was kind of prepped for that. But let me get that done today, because I know you've been working on that for a little bit. So before I go and address some of the stuff for 9 names, I'll try and get the log stuff merged for you today, and we can just start iterating on that. If we want to figure out like what a good API for that is, I am down to check that out. But yeah, I appreciate you working on that, and let's get something merged on that today, and then we can iterate on that, because I think that would be very cool. And then I think we'll end up finding some stuff that'll be useful for adding a deformat sync as well. Do we want to be able to set the logger multiple times or only once? Let's start with whatever's easier. If it's easier to just set it once, then let's do that. Yeah, I would say whatever's easier. Like, let's get it merged and let's get it working, and then if we need to improve it later, we will. But we're going to have more than one breaking change in Ergot, so I'm okay with just doing stuff now, and if we have to make a breaking change, we make a breaking change. That'll slow down over time, but yeah, I'm happy with that. But yeah, anything else, Tommaso, or does anyone else have any questions in chat? Otherwise, I'm gonna go start my day, and yeah, I'm gonna work on log stuff first, then maybe cleaning up some of the stuff for 9 names, and yeah, and then go from there. But happy Monday. Oh, we did start a little late today. We started at 11. I might have a recurring meeting on Mondays now, so Monday streams might be a little later. But I'll update the docs for that if yeah, I'll get that schedule updated. let's see. There was other other thing going on. NUSB 02 came out in July, so it's September now. Happy September. It'd be cool if you're watching this and you're looking for something to PR. If you wanna work on this would be very cool, and I'd love that PR. But if not, I'll get to it at some point. I haven't tested it out yet, and all of my postcard RPC stuff and Ergot stuff are still on NUSB 01, but it looked like there were some really good changes in there. There might just be some breaking changes, so we'll figure it out. All right, I think that's it. Thank you everyone for watching. I will get to work, and I'll be back at the end of the day around 8 p.m. Berlin time. That's about 8.5 hours from now. 8.5 hours from now. I'll see you then. All right, bye.